Hello, my name's Ollie Furnival. Welcome to this teaching and learning activity video. Please subscribe to my teaching and learning channel on YouTube, then you will be able to receive my videos as I upload them. If you'd like to ask me any questions, please email me at oliverfurnival@gmail.com, and you can find me on Twitter at @ibcoordinator_. This activity I'm going to talk about now, my teaching activity number 15, is using group preparation, discussion and voting. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in this activity is getting students in groups of people who agree with them, then they work together to get ideas, and then they use those ideas to then discuss and have a vote with students who disagree with them. So I'm going to use the example of prohibition in America, which I've taught in NYP in the International Baccalaureate grade 10 for this activity. However, I do believe that this activity can work across all areas of the school's curriculum, within the International Baccalaureate and also within your own national curriculums. So let's, just to show you how I would start this, this is like at the end of the topic. We've been looking at prohibition, we've been looking at why it started, and then we've been looking at the problems with it, and now we're looking, we looked at why it ended in America, and now we're looking to have a debate on why was it ended, why did prohibition fail. So at the beginning, to get people's opinions, I could do, as I've shown in other videos, I could do it up with the mini boards to get ideas, or I could get people standing around the room in different areas. So I'm going to offer the students 4 reasons why prohibition ended. So here we are now. We've got the American people who went to speakeasies, caused it to end. We've got the corrupt police. We've got the bootleggers who continued to supply alcohol, and we've got the gangsters who controlled the trade through violence. So I'm saying to the students that we've looked at these 4 things in the class, so that now I'd like them to rank them in order. So I could, as I say, get them to move around the room, hands up, however I do it. So when I do that, what I'm going to do is get students to work in the group of people who agree with them. So let's say in my group A, all the students in group A believe that it was the illegal speakeasies. Okay, all of my group B over here, I will say to everyone, if you believe it was because of the bootleggers, come over here, and we'll call these people group B, students B. I'll say if you believe it was the police, the corrupt police who caused it to fail, you can then go and work in this group here. And if you believe it was the gangsters, then you can work here. So in my groups here now, everyone who's come to this area of the room believes it was the gangsters who created the failure of prohibition. So I'm going to explain to the students that we're going to have a debate on that, and then in the groups you're going to vote for the number 1, and you can indeed rank them from number 1 to number 4. Okay? So the first activity now, they're in their groups. Everyone in that group has the same opinion on why prohibition ended. Now the students now can look through the textbook, can look through their class notes to prepare reasons and find facts, quotes, statistics from sources in the book and what we've covered in class. And you can give the students however long you feel your class would need to do that. Let's say, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, even longer. Doesn't matter if it doesn't divide equally into the 4 different areas, because if it does, if there's too many for one, I'll explain later what you can do to get around that. So now what's going to happen, when I've given the students the time to prepare their argument, be it a lesson, be it, with an extremely, high ability class, even less than that, 20 minutes, as I said before, we're not now going to have a class debate, okay, as one class. We're going to have a series of debates. What I'm going to do is ask students to leave the comfort of the people that agree with them and now create a group that has people with all sides of the argument in a new group. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask a student from group A, who, remember, believes it was the American people's fault, to go here. And that student in group A is going to be joined by a student from group B, C and D here. So now a new group has been created. And you can see now in this new group that we have 4 different people who all have a different idea as to the main reason why prohibition why prohibition failed and was ended in America. Okay, so here's my group. There. That's one group. Now, of course, what I do with the rest, if you can follow me here, I ask another student from A to join another student from B, C, and D, and they can sit here. And what you do around your classroom, you have a group there, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. And the important point is, in that A, B, C, D group, they're prepared for the debate. Why? Because they've been working with people who agree with them, they've been looking up facts and figures to back up their arguments, and now you've put them here, and now no one agrees with each other. And now what happens in this debate is they've now got to convince, to persuade each other why their reason for the end of prohibition was the biggest reason for why it did indeed finish. And then you can hold that debate. And at the same time in the class, depending how many students are in your classroom, there could be 4 or 5 different groups discussing and arguing about why it ended. And once you say stop, what you can then do is ask this group here to tell us who believes now, what they believe now to be the biggest reason for the end. Now, you have to explain to them that can be done in a vote, that can be done by persuasion, and you should say to the students, there must be an agreement. So, I can call this supergroup 1, and if they say, okay, we've now all believed that it was the gangsters, on the board you can have a table, well, we get 1 point for the gangsters being the biggest reason. And in this second group here, they might say, no, actually we had the same discussion and we now believe it was the corrupt police. And then you can do a tally of what the 5 supergroups now believe. And if, let's say 3 of the 5 say that it was the corrupt police, we can then say as a class consensus, we believe the police who were corrupt were the main reason for the end of prohibition. Earlier I mentioned it doesn't matter if they're the same amount, because let's say there's more student A's than anyone else. In this group discussion, you have 2 student A's working together against student B, C or D. Now, of course, they're going to have roughly the same arguments anyway, but they can just put them across and work like that. So it doesn't have to be groups of 4. And then if there aren't any, let's say only 1 student said D, in the next group here, well, there are no student D's because there weren't enough. Then, well, that's obviously going to show up in the final results because D is definitely not going to win that. So that then goes, that will then go into the class thinking. So just to recap then, this activity is very interactive. 1, you get your original group who agree with you. How that was done is up to you, the teacher. I like to say, okay, if you think it was a police, stand there, stand in 4 corners, see how big the groups are. Okay, you then go into your group, you're researching, you're using the textbook, you're using your class notes to build your argument with people who agree with you. You then go off into another group and you argue for what you believe in and what your friends in your first group have told you. Then in that next group you come to consensus, which is then shared back with the rest of the class. So what we're doing here is we're using groups to prepare for groups for preparation, groups for discussion and groups for voting. So groups are being used, 2 different groups in the same lesson to come to the conclusion as the class. Thanks for watching.